The first time I saw it happen, I was standing at the kitchen sink looking out the window like any regular afternoon, and then crack. This so-called neighborhood security officer smacked my wife across the face while she was just trying to get groceries out of the car. Bags spilled, eggs splattered all over the driveway, milk running down into the hot Texas asphalt, and this guy stood there with a smirk stomping on our food like it was some kind of power play. "Next time, follow the HOA rules, lady," he sneered. That moment changed everything. He didn't know who he'd just laid hands on, not just a pediatric nurse trying to hold our family together, but the wife of someone who'd spent years learning how to neutralize threats before most folks finish their morning coffee. My name's Daniel Cross. 15 years in the Navy SEALs, recently moved to a quieter life with my wife Rachel and our 2 kids. We thought we'd found our dream home in a gated community called Cypress Meadows, just outside of San Antonio lawns, manicured neighbors waving hello kids riding bikes down cul-de-sacs that looked straight out of a brochure. And for a couple weeks, it was exactly that. Then we met our HOA president, Linda Caldwell, and her nephew Trevor, the man with the fake badge who thought intimidation passed for authority. Linda was the kind of woman who drove a pearl-white BMW with custom plates spelling HOA Queen Hair, bleached sharp enough to cut glass, and always in yoga pants, though I never saw her actually stretch anything but the truth. She treated the HOA like her personal kingdom. Trevor was her muscle 20-something washed out of the police academy running around in a surplus uniform, with security stuck on the side of a beat-up pickup. He'd spit tobacco into a bottle, slap citations on people for garden hoses and kids' bikes, and puff out his chest like he was guarding the gates of Fort Knox. It might have been funny if it hadn't turned ugly so fast. Our first offense was flying a small American flag. Linda fined us $150 saying it wasn't an approved decoration. Then Trevor decided my truck was a commercial vehicle, even though it had veteran plates clear as day. He shrugged when I explained my measurements. "What counts, pal?" That phrase became his excuse for everything. I wanted to keep the peace for Rachel's sake, so I played it calm, took pictures, kept records. But every week, the harassment ramped up: bogus grass height citations, fines for welcome mats not aligned, even whispers on the community Facebook page that military families thought they were above the rules. I could have handled being their target, but then Trevor started following Rachel to the grocery store, showing up in the hospital parking lot, after her shifts, even circling our house at night. My kids asked me why the mean man always parked outside during dinner. And one morning at the bus stop, he leaned out of his truck and told my 12-year-old daughter, "Tell your parents, this neighborhood might not be the right fit." That was the moment the switch flipped inside me. I've dealt with dangerous men in war zones, but hearing my daughter repeat his words, my chest went ice cold. "You mess with me, fine. You threaten my family, we've got a problem. But when you involve my kids, now you've crossed into territory where my training becomes very, very relevant." Rachel, being the steady one, convinced me to fight this legally first. So we set up security cameras, logged every incident, pulled state records. Sure enough, Trevor wasn't licensed with the Texas Private Security Board. He had no authority to write citations, no insurance, no company on file. He was literally a guy in a costume. Meanwhile, we traced the HOA's payments and found Linda was funneling thousands of dollars a month to Trevor under maintenance expenses, money that should have gone to landscaping or pool repairs. Neighbors whispered about missing funds, but no one had proof, until Rachel befriended the treasurer's wife, and the whole rotten scheme cracked open. Over 60 grand stolen from our community to bankroll Linda's BMW and Trevor's tobacco habit. We didn't just sit on it. I called in favors an old JAG buddy, a civil rights attorney, even a forensic accountant. Rachel started organizing neighbors, quietly setting up a WhatsApp group documenting how minorities and military families were targeted, while Linda's friends got away with breaking the same rules. Pretty soon, what started as our private nightmare turned into a neighborhood movement. Folks who'd been silent out of fear finally spoke up. Mrs. Alvarez with her cultural decorations, the Johnsons with their kids' bikes, even sweet old Mrs. Dempsey, who caught Trevor snooping in her backyard with a flashlight at midnight. Patterns don't lie, and our evidence file was getting thicker than Trevor's ego. The breaking point came when Trevor filed a false 911 call claiming domestic disturbance at our house. Cops showed up to find Rachel helping our son with math homework and our daughter practicing piano. One officer, a veteran himself, pulled me aside later and said, "This guy's digging his own grave, keep documenting." And we did. Every fake citation, every trespass, every Facebook post dripping with Linda's condescension went straight into the record. When local news caught wind that a fake security guard had assaulted a nurse married to a Navy SEAL, the story blew up. Veterans groups rallied, neighbors organized, and suddenly Linda's little fiefdom didn't look so untouchable. By the time the county commissioners called a public hearing, we had it all laid out: video of Trevor's assault, financial records, showing Linda's embezzlement testimony from half the neighborhood. I stood at that podium calm as ever and said, "We moved here for community. Instead, we found predators with clipboards pretending to be cops." Rachel followed with her story, showing photos of the bruise still faint on her cheek, talking about children too scared to play outside. Then neighbor after neighbor got up, voices shaking with anger and relief, describing how they'd been harassed. You could feel the tide turning in that room, hundreds of people realizing they weren't alone. Trevor shuffled in wearing an orange jumpsuit, mumbled an apology, like a kid forced to say sorry for stealing cookies, still claiming he was protecting the neighborhood. The crowd groaned. Linda didn't even show her lawyer read a statement blaming Trevor and calling her theft bookkeeping errors. Nobody bought it. Within weeks, she was arrested trying to flee with cash and fake IDs. Trevor was convicted of assault and stalking, and Rachel was elected interim HOA president with nearly unanimous support. First order of business: end private security refund, illegitimate fines, and make every financial record public. For the first time in months, our street actually felt safe. Now, half a year later, Cypress Meadows has turned into the kind of place we thought we were moving into: flags flying, cultural decorations, back in gardens, kids laughing, where Trevor used to circle in his truck. Rachel even helped launch a scholarship for military families using the restitution money we clawed back. As for Trevor and Linda, they'll be remembered as the pair who tried to run a dictatorship and ended up in court instead. Sometimes justice takes time, but when it comes, it's like a flood washing the dirt clean. So I'll leave you with this: what would you have done in my shoes? If someone slapped your spouse in broad daylight and stalked your kids under the guise of HOA rules, would you fight back the same way or take another path? Drop your thoughts down below, share your own HOA horror stories, and tell me, do you think justice was served? Or do people like Trevor and Linda ever really learn?